Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. We are going to be doing a little bit of a role reversal today, okay? Because I feel like on this channel, because I'm the one making the videos, it's usually me giving you my book recommendations. Today, it's going to be your job to influence me whether I should read these books or not, because today we are going to be talking about some popular authors that I have never read. I'm going to be going through my reasons as to why I haven't picked up a book from these authors yet, and so I'm relying on you today, okay? If there's an author that I talk about today that you are like, Jamie, you need to get over yourself and just read this author's books, and this is the book you should start with, please let me know in the comments. I need you to convince me. I need some encouragement today. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Okay, this first author, I'm like almost there. I'm almost convinced, but let's talk about Cassandra Clare, okay? The author of, what is it? The Mortal Instruments, I think is like her main like popular series, or like the Clockwork books. What are they called? Let's go through Goodreads. We'll get our facts straight today. Okay, so yes, I do think her most like read series is The Mortal Instruments, which starts with City of Bones, which is book 1. And then I think this is a trilogy. She also has The Infernal Devices, which starts with Clockwork Angel, which I think... Oh, The Mortal Instruments is longer than a trilogy. There's at least 6 books. Okay, yeah, I'm even more intimidated now. But yeah, we have those 2 main series, and then she has a couple of other series. I think they're all set in, what is it called? The Shadowhunter universe, I think. But then she has her new series called The Chronicles of Castellane, starting with Swordcatcher, which is an unfinished series so far, but it's more like adult fantasy, I think. Her Mortal Instruments and Shadowhunter's world, I think, is YA fantasy. And then yeah, she has this like new world, which I think Swordcatcher is her first book that's not connected to like this Shadowhunter's gigantic universe. I'm sure those of you who do read Cassandra Clare know her book catalog a lot better than I do. Maybe I made some mistakes in summarizing what she's written so far, but from my impression, that is the world of Cassandra Clare. And yes, I am so intimidated about this. There's something about like jumping into an author's universe when they already have like 7+ books in that universe that just makes it so intimidating for whatever reason, which is so funny because like I've obviously read series that are like, 8 books long, or like I've read universes that have 15 books in them, stuff like that. I'm like in the middle of reading the Cosmere right now. Like, what is more intimidating than that? But for some reason, yeah, whenever I see something like this, it takes me a long time to convince myself like, yes, okay, I'm gonna dive into it, which like it shouldn't really be that way, because when you think about it, like stakes are low. You start with one book. If you like it, you keep going. If you don't like it, then you read the one book and it's fine. You like, no one's forcing you to read every single book in this universe if you don't like it. But just staring at an author's backlog and seeing so many books scares me a little bit. But I do think I need to read Cassandra Clare at some point. The reason I haven't read any of her books is because for some reason I just missed the phase. I missed the stage where everyone was getting into like the Mortal Instruments, and then sometimes like when I've just like missed the boat for too long, I just like hop off that boat. I'm like, you know what? I'm never gonna get on that boat. But I know Freida absolutely loves Cassandra Clare, loves her world, and I know Emmy has recently been like really, really loving Cassandra Clare and like getting into her whole backlog, which I think she started with Swordcatcher, and I think that's what got her into Cassandra Clare. And then she was like, yeah, we're gonna go into her backlog and just start from the beginning. And I think she's really, really loving the experience. So I'm like kind of like starting to get a little bit more convinced, like, okay, maybe I'll pick one up. But there are a lot of books, so I need you guys to let me know. Like, is it okay for me to start with the Swordcatcher book, or is that like a big faux pas when it comes to Cassie Clare land? The next popular author that I've never read is actually Devney Perry, which most recently has released the, what is it called? Oh my gosh, Shield of Sparrows, the romantasy, which I think came out around the same time as Silver Elite. So at that time, I remember seeing a lot of these on TikTok where people were like, Silver Elite or Shield of Sparrows, which one should I pick up? And these books were being compared to each other, even though I think from what I've heard, they're quite different books. Like the tone of them and the writing in them is quite different, but just like because there were two popular romanticides that came out on the same day or near each other, they were getting compared a lot. But Devney Perry, along with Shield of Sparrows, which came out recently, also wrote those like Indigo books. What are they called? Indigo Ridge, the Edens series, which I have heard good things about as well. I think from what I know, those books are kind of like small town mystery romance books, but it is a series. And I think she's also written cowboy romances too. Maybe I'm getting that wrong, but I think there's something about cowboy romances with Devney Perry. And I remember hearing a lot about the Indigo Ridge books, but I never felt compelled to pick those ones up. But because I'm kind of in this phase where I'm trying to find romanticides that I like again, I've been really curious about Shield of Sparrows. So you guys, let me know. Is Shield of Sparrows worth it? Have you read it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know all your thoughts. I think one of the reasons I'm like really intrigued about Shield of Sparrows is because when I was seeing the Silver Elite and Shield of Sparrows pairings, I was seeing that for the most part, people who disliked Silver Elite liked Shield of Sparrows, and people who disliked Shield of Sparrows liked Silver Elite. And I am in the group of people who did not like Silver Elite. So I'm like, maybe I would love Shield of Sparrows. I don't know. So let me know, should I read Devney Perry? If I should read her, do I start with Shield of Sparrows or do I go back to, I don't know, the Indigo Ridge books? Next author, this one's kind of a big one, Chloe Walsh. Let's talk about Chloe Walsh, the author of like the Binding 13 series. What is the name of, is it just called Binding 13? No, there is a name for this series. Boys of Tommen, yes. Why did I forget that? I don't know. Anyways, I have been so on the fence about these ones just because like some of the things I've heard, on one hand, I have heard wonderful things about this series. So many people love it, Freya included, and I really trust Freya's book opinions because our book taste is, for the most part, like maybe 98% of the time, we love the same books. And she absolutely loves this series. But number one, this series is so long. Every single book is also so long. I think, hold on, how long is the first book? Binding 13 is 618 pages. And I'm the type of person that does not believe in romances needing to be over like 400 pages, like 350 pages. Once it gets longer than that, I'm like, this romance is too long. And I know, here's the thing. The Boys of Tommen series is categorized under the romance genre, which from what I've heard about this series is the complete wrong genre for it to be in. I think from what I've heard, these books read more like contemporary fiction, like kind of traumatic fiction filled with lots of horrible things happening, but we have like subplots of romance in every single book. Like every book I think pairs around one couple, but like the structure of the books do not follow the structure of a typical romance. I don't know. And then from what I've heard with the latest book in this series, like when that was released, there was some controversy with that one, like lots of like sensitive topics that were maybe depicted too graphically with a little bit too much detail than like most people were comfortable with. I'm just so confused about this series and whether I should read them or I should not read them. So if you have read the Binding 13 or Boys of Tommen series, let me know what you think. Because yeah, I know, like Freya's like, I can hear you, Freya. I can hear you being like, Jamie, read these books now, but I'm scared. Okay? So convince me. Or convince me not to. I don't know. Let me know your honest opinions on Chloe Walsh. Next up, we have Rina Kent. Rina Kent writes, I think they're like mafia romances. I think that's the genre, which is a genre I have never ever gotten into. And I feel like I don't really feel the pull to get into. Rina Kent came to the forefront of my attention because my in-person book club, I think, was it in June or July? It was in June, I think. My in-person book club read God of Fury. Yeah, I think it was God of Fury. But either way, my in-person book club read a Rina Kent book. And so I was like, oh, what are these? I've always heard of people talking about them. I do have a lot of friends that really like the mafia romance genre, but it's just, yeah, it's something I've never felt pulled towards. And as I was hearing like some of my like in-person book club friends read this book, seeing their comments about this book, I was just like, yeah, these books are not for me. I felt so bad because it's actually the first book pick for my in-person book club that I ended up not reading and not even like trying to read. And I kind of felt bad about it. But also on the other hand, like I have so many books on my TBR. Like you guys know, I've been on a project this year to like read down my TBR. And so I have so many books to read. And I was like, I just do not feel like going out and acquiring this book that I feel like I have a 99% probability of disliking. And then yeah, just hearing some of my friends read this book, like some of my friends who are not like dark mafia romance lovers, and seeing their comments about it, stuff like, I don't know, they were saying like in the first 5% of the book, there were like pages and pages and pages of the protagonist naming his male appendage. I heard that and I was like, not for me, not for me. But then on the other hand, I have so many friends who love these books, and like I typically steer away from dark romance, but there have been some like dark gothic fantasy romances or romanticities that I've loved, like Phantasma and Enchantra more specifically. So I've been more open in my mind more recently to dive into like darker romantic reads, but I feel like this series and Rina Kent in particular is just like too full dark romance for me. Like if you're gonna give me dark romance, it has to be set in a fantasy world and have some sort of like a gothic dark fantasy element in it to keep me interested. I feel like just a dark mafia contemporary romance wouldn't do it for me. But if you think differently, convince me. But I feel like I'm pretty much convinced on not reading Rina Kent. Okay, Rick Riordan. We need to talk about Rick Riordan because am I saying that name right? I hope so. But I never got into the Percy Jackson world, which I'm kind of like sad about because I feel like the Percy Jackson world defined so many people's reading tastes like when they were younger. I feel like this world was like one of those that got so many people into reading and got so many people into reading fantasy in particular. So I feel like this is just like a stage in my like reading development that I just completely missed. And I still to this day have no idea how I just like glossed over this entire era of everyone reading Percy Jackson and me just like being so unaware and like not knowing this entire world existed. Like, how did that happen? I have loved fantasy forever. Like, I can't even think of a time in my life where I was not reading some sort of a fantasy. And so like, what happened? What genuinely happened? Like, this is still an absolute mystery to me as to how I never read a Percy Jackson book. And then at this point in my life, I just don't pick up middle grade books unless they are nostalgic books to me and I am picking them up as rereads just to like relive the joys of being that age again. I generally I just don't pick up middle grade books anymore. So I think I made a comment about this in a video previously. I said something like, I feel like I'm past the prime of reading Percy Jackson, and then I got so many comments saying like, no, you are not past the prime. Percy Jackson is a series for people of all ages. Everyone, like whatever age you read it at, like it will hold up. There's a place for everyone in this world. And so I'm like, do I do it? Do I pick up a Percy Jackson book? Because genuinely, how did I miss this entire book series? How did I miss an entire like movie franchise? How did I miss an entire like TV adaptation reboot? Like, I have never taken part, never participated, never consumed a single piece of Percy Jackson media, whether it was in written format or in movie TV format. But I feel like I need to. I feel like I am not a complete reader. I'm not a complete fantasy reader if I have not read a Percy Jackson book. So I feel like I need to rip off the band-aid and do it at some point. But like, you know, if I'm in the middle of reading the Cosmere, if I'm about to get into Cassandra Clare, if I'm about to get into like all these different like universes, do I have the capacity to also jump into this one right now? Like, my thing is like priority, you know? With Percy Jackson and Rick Riordan, I think I'm like pretty much there. I'm like 80% convinced, but now I'm like, what order do I do things in? Do I do Cassandra Clare first, or do I do Percy Jackson first? I don't know. That's something for you to help me decide. All right, next up on my list, we have Freida McFadden, the author of like The Maid and just like The Housemaid and a lot of like maid themed thrillers that I think are all part of the same series and connected. I don't know. I don't actually know very much about this world, but I just know that these are thrillers that are very easy to read, very quick, very twisty, and I think people have very mixed opinions on them. Like, I think some of her books are very good, and then I think some of her books, from what I've heard, are very terrible. So that confuses me. I think my impression of Freida McFadden, from what I've heard, is that she's just kind of like a junk food thriller author. Like, her writing's not the best, but they're kind of just like easy to consume books that will keep you on your seat. And I've just felt no pull ever to read a single one of her books. It definitely has something to do with the fact that I have just not been feeling thrillers for the past like year at this point. I used to read quite a few thrillers, but at one point I just like fell out of love with them. And now, unless it's a thriller author that I've read before and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll read your next book, I'm just not one to pick up like a new thriller from like a new author that I've never read before. So yeah, never really felt inclined to pick up a Freida McFadden, but I do know The Maid is being adapted into a movie, and whenever things are adapted for screen and it's something that like may come up and I might watch it at some point, I always want to read the book first. I am definitely a book first, movie second type of a person, and so I don't want to watch the movie if I haven't read the book first. And so now I'm like, am I even going to watch the movie? Because if I don't read the book, I'm not going to watch the movie. But then I'm going to feel like all sorts of left out, because I feel like when this movie comes out, everyone's going to be talking about it, and I'm just going to be like sitting there with nothing to say. And I hate that feeling. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know. I mean, I could, I guess, just read The Maid by her and leave it at that. I don't have to like get into her whole universe. It's not like Cassandra Clare or Percy Jackson, where I think like it's like more important to get every single book to get the full impacts of the universe. I feel like these thrillers could be read maybe as sort of standalones. Should I read Freida McFadden? I don't know. We're going to talk about sports romance next, okay? Because I have never read a Liz Tomforde book in my life, and I think her books are sports romance, are they not? Are they billionaire romance or sports romance? These are the questions I ask myself every day. I don't know, there's something about sports romance and billionaire romance that I think have a lot of overlap sometimes, and so sometimes I just like get confused and I can't differentiate. But Liz Tomforde is the author of the Windy series Cities, which starts with Mile High, and these are in fact sports romances, hockey romances. Now, I have heard many a good thing about Liz Tomforde, and I have even heard from people that I would like these books as someone who's very picky with romance. The thing is, I feel no inclination to pick up a sports romance. I am not a sports person. Like, I am one of those rare people that I do not get excited about sports. I feel like it's a very normal activity for people to like go out and watch a sports game, whether it's hockey or baseball or football, or, you know, like people get excited about these things. You pick a team and you root for them and it's fun. You watch the Super Bowl, whatever. But I have never felt interested in sports unless it's figure skating or gymnastics or diving. Like when the Olympics comes around, I do get excited. I love watching the Olympics, but I don't watch like the ball sports or like the team sports, you know? I watched like the, I guess you could say more like creative, artistic, like performing sports. Probably has to do with the fact that when I was younger, I did figure skating and I also was a competitive dancer. So I just feel more connected to like these forms of athleticism plus creativity versus team sports where you throw a ball around or kick a ball around. I've just never been a sports person. I don't get excited about sports or athletes. So I've never ever felt the pull to pick up a sports romance ever. The only one I've picked up in the past is indeed, oh gosh, what was it called? From Lukov with Love, the Mariana Zapata book about figure skating. I guess I also read The Favorites, which is also figure skating, and oh wait, no, I picked up Deep End, which was swimming and diving. See? I watched diving. These are the sports I like to watch. And I didn't love Deep End, but I did actually really, really love The Favorites. And From Lukov with Love. Like, give me anything figure skating and I will love it, I think. But I don't know, like a hockey romance? I don't care about a hockey player. I've never had like, you know when you have celebrity crushes and people like have celebrity crushes on athletes? I have never ever had a crush on a hockey player. Like they're stinky. They smell. I feel like I, on one hand, want to maybe give these books a chance because for me, a good author can make you interested in anything as long as it's well written. If you've read these Mile High, whatever, Windy City books and you're like, Jamie, these are actually very, very good romances. It's not just about the hockey. I don't know. Let me know if I should read these or not. We are going to talk about Anna Huang next, the author of the Twisted series, and then I think she's written another sort of a billionaire series as well. I don't know why I've never felt inclined to pick these books up. I'm gonna be quite honest, I know next to nothing about Anna Huang's books, but it's just one of those like author names that I see and I hear everywhere, and I see people like fan casting the characters in the Twisted series a lot on TikTok and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I know that's what Ava looks like. So I kind of like have an image in my head of what the cast of characters in these books look like, but I don't even know what the books are about. So if you know more about Anna Huang and her books and you want me to read them, let me know what they're actually about and convince me. Okay, next one's a big one. Jennifer Elle Armentrout. What is her main book? From Blood and Ash, I think, is the first one. But okay, here's the thing about Jennifer Elle Armentrout. I've heard so many mixed things. I've heard that some of her books are incredible and some of her books are an absolute disaster. I've also heard some kind of wild things about some of the plots of her books that make me question things, but it's another one of those universes that just is so big that I just feel so turned off from it. It's also one of those universes that has like such a specific reading order, and if there's anything that will turn me off a universe, it is a reading order. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, I'm fine with a reading order if it's like, you need to read this series first, and then you need to read this series, and then you need to read that series, and it all comes like all together wholesale. But Jennifer Elle Armentrout's books and her world has one of those reading orders that's like, okay, you read this book from this series, and then you take this series and read that one, and then you go back to the first series and read the next 2 books in that one, and then there's a prequel series that you have to read, so read like 3 of those and then go back to the second series and then to the like, you know, it's just so like piecemeal, and it's like, no, absolutely not. Like, why do you have to think so hard about a reading order? Like, there's nothing that gets me more angry than an interconnected universe where it's like you need to like break up the series and read them in these like really, really specific orders to get like the full impact of them. It makes me so mad. The fact that you can't just like pick up a book 1 in a series and be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna read this one first. That aggravates me. I would prefer one series with like 27 books over like 4 series with 7 books each in them that you have to like flip back and forth between. That just makes me so mad for some reason. I don't know why, but I've pretty much in my mind said no to Jennifer Elle Armentrout's books. But if you have anything good to say about them and want me to read them, let me know. You know the drill. Oh, I have Elle Kennedy on this list, but I think Elle Kennedy kind of falls under the same umbrella as Liz Tomforde, where all of her books are sports romances, and specifically I think Elle Kennedy's books are sports high school romances. From what I've seen, I don't really know that much about these books except for like the casting announcements of like the TV series adaptation that is being made, and from what I've seen with like the artwork that they're using in the design and even like the cast of characters, I think this is like a high school sports romance. Funny story, a year ago I almost picked up an Elle Kennedy book because she did like a signing at my like local Indigo bookstore, and so I was like, ooh, maybe I'll go in the morning and pick up some signed books because I've never read any of her books, but I know she's a popular author and like signed copies are cool. So I almost went and picked up her books, but then I woke up that morning and I was like, I don't know, I felt like too lazy to get on the bus that morning, and I was like, it's a stay-at-home day, and so I never actually went and picked up her books. But funny story, I almost did pick up an Elle Kennedy, but never actually went. We're gonna talk about Tahereh Mafi as our last but not least author of this list. And honestly, Tahereh Mafi doesn't actually belong in this list in this video because I do own her books. Like, they are sitting on my TBR ready for me to read. So I have already been convinced to read her books. I am already there. But what I need help with is where I should start, because she has 2, I think, popular main series. The first one is This Woven Kingdom. I don't know if that's what the series is called, but that's what the first book is called. And I have that. I actually have the first 2 books in that series already. They're gorgeous also. I love them. But I've had those on my TBR for a while. So I was convinced, like, yes, these are the first books by Tahereh Mafi that I will pick up ever. But the other day, I was strolling around in my neighborhood. I stopped at a little free library, opened the little door, and I found Shatter Me inside. And that's by Tahereh Mafi too. And so I picked it up and I brought it home. And Shatter Me is actually a book that I convinced myself I wasn't going to read for whatever reason. I don't know why. I don't even really know what it's about. I think it's kind of dystopian, but it was free and it was in a little free library. So I picked it up, brought it home. So now I have two potential Tahereh Mafi books to get started into first. I have Shatter Me or this Woven Kingdom. So if you have read both of those books or, you know, the series and you lean one way or the other, let me know which one I should start with, because I'm like almost there. I'm like, maybe in the next few months, I will pick up one of those Tahereh Mafis that have been staring at me for my TBR. Let me know which one I should do first. But okay, that brings us to the end of my list. Those are just a few of the very popular authors that I have never picked up. And so now it's your turn. Do your job. Let's chat in the comments. Let me know which of these authors I should pick up. And also let me know which of these authors I should just like really, really make sure I stay away from. That being said, I'm gonna leave you guys here for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know, as I mentioned, like convince me to read some of these authors or convince me to not read. Or if you've never read any of these authors either, let me know what popular authors you have never picked up and are just not convinced to read. And then we can all in the comments convince each other to read all of the authors. I think that would be fun. But yeah, that's it. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!